The mythology of Cybermen is kind of like lots of other mythology in Doctor Who. You get these cataclysmic cosmic events that last eons, and yet within the actual tangible stories themselves, whether they be TV, audio, comic book or any other form of expanded media, they only get the faintest reference. The rest, you fill in with your imagination. And maybe that's a good thing. The Cyber Wars happened because Cybermen were one of the most powerful and relentlessly wicked forces in the Doctor Who universe, and humanity needed to wipe them out to survive. As far as Doctor Who TV was concerned, the Cyber Wars happened like this. They had yet to occur in the invasion, and by the time we got to Revenge of the Cybermen, it was all done and dusted. Over. We never see it. Suffice to say, the Doctor knows all about it. Humans invented the glitter gun, the perfect non-corrosive metal, and Cybermen, or at least that particular incarnation of Cybermen, were wiped out. So much to the point that the Fourth Doctor references the fact that there are gold-plated Cyberman souvenirs that are used as hat stands. I want one. After the war, the Cybermen all but disappeared. The Cyber Nomads, as seen in Revenge of the Cybermen, are trying to kickstart a brand new cyber war. After all, and according to these slightly emotionally intense Cybermen, they are destined to be rulers of the cosmos. They fail. So the Cyber Wars, and by the way there was more than one Cyber War, we are talking primarily about the Great Cyber War in this video, definitely requires more attention in the Doctor Who canon. You get a bit of a nod in stuff like The Secret Lives of Monsters by Justin Richards and some other bits of expanded media, but on the whole the Cyber Wars is a bit of a narrative blank canvas. However, the good people at Big Finish did treat us to a deep dive into the final moments of the Great Cyber Wars, and folks, guess what planet it happened on. By the way, I'm about to dive into some really good expanded media, and if you want to hear that and you haven't heard it, then don't watch this. But then listen to it and come back and watch the video so we can all talk about it together. The Last of the Cybermen was a 2015 Big Finish release starring Colin Baker and was written by Alan Barnes. Alan Barnes also wrote the superb Cybermen comics, which I talked about in one of my Mondas videos. How do we know that this is an Alan Barnes Cyberman story? Because it features a giant building in the shape of a Cyberman's head. And that's not Telos, by the way, that's Planetoid X. Like Return to Telos, this audio has its share of timey-wimey madness, but it's great at its core because we get Doctor Number 6 gallivanting around with Jamie and Zoe. Last of the Cybermen allows us to witness the final moments of the Cyber Wars in real time, sort of. It fully acknowledges references made in Revenge of the Cybermen. Humans invented the glitter gun and those tin terrors never stood a chance. You actually see, well, hear one of those glitter guns getting used in this audio. They sound really impressive. And sparkly. This particular audio, amongst lots of other things, covers a group of Cybermen who are hiding out in warp space, attempting to turn the tides of this war that Cybermen are destined to lose by using time travel. Oh boy. Anyway, let's talk about the giant head, the Citadel more to the point. It's not a tomb, but it does contain some of the hallmarks of a Telos tomb. Logic, puzzles and traps for the humans and that. Lots of things that us lovers of the classic Tomb of the Cybermen TV story can gorge on. It's even got the alpha meson phosphate lighting system so you can see where you're going. Nice touch. The first wodge of the story takes place in this citadel, and it's a really exciting place to be. The story also mentions the recently founded Brotherhood of Logicians recently founded. In the heart of the head-shaped citadel, the Doctor and co meet a cyber planner, also described as an augmented cybernetic brain used for tactical coordination. It was damaged by a lightning strike, thus botching the signal that it was gonna send out to all the Cybermen trapped in the warp. However, and like all Cybermen stories worth their salt, there is the obligatory humans sabotaging the operation from within and secretly aiding the cyber core so they can supposedly utilise the Cybermen for their own needs. The beacon does eventually get to the fleet, and it is discharged as a giant pink light from the Citadel's headlamp. To me, that is such a wonderful touch. If you've watched my video on the Cybermen, you will know that Alan Barnes is really clever when it comes to Cybermen headlamps. He loves the stuff. Turns out the Cybermen have been stuck in warp space for 10 years. They've been waiting for this signal from the beacon, and because the beacon was botched, they've just been stuck there. And because of this and other stuff like it, and the Cybermen's general failure at winning the war, they have decided big fat wet silver cobblers to even making the humans like us. So they're just going to destroy planet Earth now, much easier. The counter-offensive will commence as it was planned 10 years ago, it just means they got to time travel back to that point now. Those final hours which took place in that all-important world just yonder of Mutter's spiral in Tremulous 3, next to Tasker's crown and also in the same star system as Krelos, the world that was originally occupied by the Cryons but was then subjugated by the Cybermen, who may or may not have originated there, but they definitely did sleep there for 500 years. It can only be Telos. And the 6th Doctor is in the heart of it. Gunmetal corridors, nightmarish conversion facilities, and a massive floaty Cyberman supercontroller. The final boss of Cybermen, if you will. And he's not in a good way, what with him being hardwired to the painful death of every Cyberman across the galaxy who is currently getting wasted in the war. It's hard not to feel some sort of emotion at that, even when you are a Cyberman. And he's in the heart of Telos. Possibly one of the darkest points in Telos' history. And that's pretty dark. Zoe is connected to the cyber chamber and the supercontroller is overwriting Zoe's brain. He tries to cause the cyber fleet from the future to launch a counterattack and sway the final Cyber Wars battle, thus saving Telos. They fail. In fact, the precise opposite happens. I keep saying that the Cybermen just don't do time travel well, and you know, there's doing something bad and then there's fulfilling the predetermined destruction of your own race, which is exactly what they do here. All the Doctor does is ride the loop of causality to make sure that Telos is destroyed the way it's supposed to. The cyber fleet crash into it, the cyber fleet from the future crash into it, thus destroying Telos. It is kind of fitting though that he and the TARDIS are in the eye of the storm. First Mondas, and now this. It's not like he was the one to destroy Telos per se, but he certainly doesn't stop it either. And there you go folks, the destruction of Telos. That's it. Planet over. In the final moments of Telos, the Super Cyber Controller says, come on, end the war, like he wants it to end. The pain is too much for him. And that's pretty profound. Like the destruction of Mondas in the 10th planet, Big Finish allowed us to actually hear and feel and be a part of the destruction of Telos. In a super slap of continuity, the 6th Doctor states that there will be scattered survivors, unbalanced, a little emotional, perhaps even after revenge, which is a direct nod to the emotionally intense nomads of Revenge of the Cybermen, which is an extremely clever touch until you remember that in the archive tapes, that same divergence of nomads then went to Telos to create a brand new race of Cybermen. Well, they can't because Telos is destroyed. Look, I can't stress this enough folks, some stuff just doesn't add up. You gotta remember that Doctor Who consists of a vast lineage of writers and producers who have slowly trickled this content out over a number of decades. The general backstory they have used is only a plot point so they can build their own particular narrative, self-contained in this story, on top of it. It's no surprise then that when you link Revenge of the Cybermen to the archive tapes to the Last of the Cybermen, that not all the bits add up. But the stuff that does add up is very, very rewarding, and we've got to be grateful for that at least. Things like the Cyber Wars only really exist metaphysically in between stories. All things considered, I've discovered that there's a lot more good continuity than bad in these stories. Let's go all the way back to 2001, and I'm talking the real Us 2001, the one that Doctor Who writers occupy. 2001 saw the release of Sword of Orion, and while the 8th Doctor is traipsing through the Garazone Bazaar market, he finds a gold-plated cyber head, a relic of the Cyber Wars. Whether or not this gold-plated cyber head can be used as a hat stand as referenced by the Doctor is for you to decide. Anyway, in Sword of Orion, the Cyber War is said to have happened a long time ago, and that the Cybermen are now safely tucked away in their tombs on Telos. Now we've got this, the Orion War, a big galactic conflict between the androids of Orion and their human creators, or more specifically, the Earth Empire. The Earth Empire was a big thing that lasted ages. By the way, Big thanks to the person who commented on my last video bringing to my attention this. A really fun piece of Telos related media all the way back from 1979. The Doctor Who magazine miniseries throwback, Soul of a Cyberman. And would you just get an eyeful of Telos in these images? Look at that! One can only guess at what time period this was set or why the Cybermen talk to each other like police state bully boys in this particular story. They've all got individual names, they're more like the original Mondasian Cybermen as seen in the 10th Planet. They have military ranks too, and this is Junior Cyber Leader Croton, a Cyberman who gets reacquainted with his human side. He can't quite get his head around neither the emotional impulsiveness of humans or the cold logical ruthlessness of his Cybermen colleagues. He basically turns good and joins the Doctor later down the line for a series of adventures. Now there's a secret legacy of Telos if there ever was one. I got no idea where this is meant to be set in the Telos timeline. Don't think it's meant to be set anywhere, it's just cool. I'm very tempted to make another video about this guy. If you'd like to see that, drop it in the comments. Anyway, the Orion War, I'm giving up on dates, they make no sense. The Earth Empire was a big thing that lasted ages. Professor Vanson mentions it in The Secrets of Telos, which to me is cool because in my own personal headcanon, the six-legged bears with Cybermen faces that she creates in the name of the Earth Empire could well have been utilised to fight the androids in the Orion War. The 8-part Cyberman audio, a kind of spin-off of Sword of Orion, which ran between 2005 and 2009, served as a kind of intergalactic political thriller with nourishing morsels of espionage, intrigue, deception and romance, as humans and androids rage war with each other with Cybermen playing the puppet masters in the background. Lots of dense storytelling and some deep cyber conversion shiz. Earth pretty much falls under cyber control in this one with no Doctor to even remotely speak of. You're on your own for this one, guys. Part 4 of Cyberman, simply titled Telos, takes us to what I perceive to be the very last stopping point of the Telos lineage, or at least the fragmented remains of it, and I love how ridiculously close these scattered remains come to completely revitalising the Cyberman Empire. Basically, our intrepid hero, nope, not the Doctor, it's Liam Barnaby, he's a man from Earth, travels to the remains of Telos after, according to this audio, that planet was destroyed by asteroids. Close enough. But here's the kicker. Amongst everything else, Telos was home to the Master Hibernation Vault, the big one. The Hibernation Vault to end all Hibernation Vaults, capable of holding thousands of Cybermen. And you know what else it can do? When activated, it can send a signal out to all the other Cybermen hibernation vaults across the galaxy. Telos goes from being wiped out in its entirety to being the sole source of Cyberman resurgence in devastating fashion. It nearly happens. One android, one human, teaming together, flooding the hibernation vault with radiation. Crisis averted. And that really is the end of Telos. Calling all Doctor Who writers. Does this Master Hibernation Vault survive in any form? What is the backstory to the Cryons? And does anything interesting happen in the 500 years where the Cyber-Telosians are sleeping in their tombs? But more importantly, what about you guys? My distinguished chosen chimp followers, what else in the Telos timeline would you like to see bulked out? Sound off in the comments. And until then, we're finished with Telos. There it is in Lego form. So I can't go. Just can't snap my... There you go. And what other Doctor Who stuff would you like me to talk about? I'm on a real Cyberman tip right now. I'm thinking Planet 14. I'm thinking about Wheel in Space. I'm thinking about Croton, the Cyberman with emotions. Eventually, I'd like to cover everything. And what other Doctor Who monsters would you like me to see me cover? What other Doctor Who monsters would you like to see me cover in great detail? There's so many. Please splurge all of this and more in the comments and tell me what you would like to see from the Chosen Chimp next. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey of Telos. It's been an absolute blast. Until next time, this chimp has been chosen for cyber conversion. Have a good one.